Hello. So, would you please introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Rebecca Klaczkowski, and I am a CPA CA, but I currently work as a realtor with Chestnut Park Real Estate.
Thank you. A bit about what drew you to real estate in particular.
Yeah, so I started my career out of university as an accountant. I worked at Price Waterhouse, and I did that for about 5 years, and then I really was not happy there, and I left without actually having a job. I ended up doing a couple small consulting type of gigs for different people. And then a friend of mine suggested I go work for his family's business. I ended up going to work for a um, family business that owned real estate all over Ontario. And I did various different things for them, including leasing. And I had worked there for about 2 years, and I decided that it was time to move on and I wanted something better and greater that I enjoyed more. So I decided to get my real estate license after seeing kind of the potential in real estate.
That sounds amazing. And your background in business and accounting, do you feel that that contributed to your work in the industry overall, or in
So
smaller details?
yeah, so I really think my background kind of just put me in a place and allowed me to gain the knowledge and experience to be successful in the industry. I think a lot of real estate agents, they didn't really have previous careers. They kind of just go into it without any um, real work experience in the workforce. And I think that's really important. So the other thing is my background, obviously, working with numbers and understanding things, it definitely really helped because there's a lot that goes into buying a house and people getting comfortable and really understanding what it entails in terms of costs and closing costs. So I do think that my previous work experience definitely helps me and also sets me apart from other agents who are not necessarily as knowledgeable on certain topics.
So, would you recommend that that this particular background is a significant path to achieving success for anybody who's interested in joining the industry?
So no, I wouldn't say that's necessarily the path, but I do think it's important to kind of gain real work experience prior to going into the industry in order to um, be more educated and sophisticated when you do enter the industry. I don't really know what the best path is, but I think, with anything, having experience and exposure to various industries and roles definitely helped me.
Right. I ask because real estate is a very attractive industry for a lot of young people.
Mhm.
I think a lot of them would be interested in determining what the easiest way to find success as a real estate agent would be as a young professional.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. Like, young people are very attracted to the industry because, it's very cool, for lack of a better word. It's very sexy, it's very fast paced, it's very, you can make a lot of money in the industry very fast if you have the right connections and, you're able to get things done. So I just think having like any type of work experience and just an understanding of life is what helps you. I mean, you can just go straight into um, George Brown and start the real estate courses, but you're not, as a 20 something year old, I just don't think you have the knowledge and the expertise, but it can be learned. It can be learned on the job. So if that's the case, if you're a young agent who wants to get started, I think it's really important to align yourself with another more experienced agent in order to get the experience and exposure necessary to be successful.
Right. Do you feel that there are like particular necessary skills that a real estate agent requires in order to be successful, or it can be anything as long as you're using it appropriately?
Yeah, I think it can be anything, but I think you have to be knowledgeable. You have to really educate yourselves on, let's say, you have a buyer client and your buyer wants to buy in a certain area. You really need to learn and understand the history in that area. What do things sell for that are a certain lot size, a certain number of bedrooms and bathrooms? Um, so you have to be able to learn and understand and like kind of retain that information. I mean, I mostly focus my business in certain areas, so I know all the recent sales in those areas for the past few years. It kind of just comes with, like that's just I can recall sales just because I'm heavily study the area. You have to be very patient, I think, in order to be a good agent. And I think it also you have to have really good relationships with other agents. I mean, I attribute most of my success to my relationships with my clients as well as relationships with other agents because that's how you um, get things done and do well in this industry. You want to be the first to know about houses. You want to be the first to get your clients into houses. It's all about being in the know, and that's all relationships.
Do you have any strategies that you can share where you feel comfortable sharing about being in the know, maintaining those relationships with your clients, determining what the right region in the city is best for you to be selling and buying, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so I could say one strategy, I think it's good to focus on an area and be like, because my business is pretty much focused in the area I live in and the immediate surrounding area, I really do have the knowledge base. So I feel, anytime I have a new client looking or someone wants me to sell something, I'm very confident and comfortable working in that space. Sometimes I do things out of like in random areas. Like I had a client looking for something in Mississauga, and I really had to learn it before I started looking there, which is obviously okay. There's nothing wrong with that, but I think it's easy to be an area expert once get started. Sorry, I don't think I answered your question properly.
No, that's absolutely what I was looking for, exactly. And so like speaking about your area in particular, I think it's obvious to everyone that housing has become a problem for a lot of Canadians and they're having difficulty determining or finding housing that fits their budget but is also a sustainable living condition for their circumstance. Are you personally feeling the effects at all?
I personally feel the effects through my clients. Living in Toronto is obviously very expensive, and you need to save a lot of money for a down payment. You need to be able to earn enough money to support the mortgages to be able to buy the house you want. And it's definitely tough, but you really have to be, budget conscious and pick your priorities. If going on vacations is a priority, then maybe you can't get as big of a house. And if it's hard to find a house and it's all about compromises. So, you may think you want a 4 bedroom, 4 bathroom house, but you may have to compromise and get a 4 bedroom, 2 bath house, or real estate, even at any budget. I always say this, it's always a compromise. I have clients with, you know, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, $10 million budgets, and they're still making compromises at those price points. Even at, $5 million, which is a very healthy budget for the city of Toronto. I was with a client yesterday. It's almost impossible to find them something that's, a good house for that money.
Right.
It's very challenging.
So how do you specifically maneuver the ever-changing market in order to facilitate these sales if it's so difficult and so challenging? Like, how are you able to sell?
So it's very difficult right now. It's really hard to find good inventory. So I do a number of things. Again, it's my relationships, my networks. I'm constantly speaking to other agents, constantly asking them if they have anything coming, telling them what I'm looking for. I go and door knock. Target certain houses that I know would work for my buyers to see if I can get those sellers to sell. But again, that's challenging in this market because it's hard to motivate them given, prices today. Prices today aren't prices that motivate sellers to sell. So, you got to be creative, but I door knock, I call other agents, I just continue to stay on top of things to make sure that if there is something that is coming available, I know about it first and I get to see it first so I can get my clients so they have, first dibs or first access to certain properties.
It's so, so interesting. And people are not usually interested to sell. If it's just a knock on the door, are you interested in selling your home type situation at this
Oh,
point?
I've had success at that previously. It is much easier when you can say, well, tell me I always ask the people on the other side, well, what's the price that would motivate you? And they tell you these like ludicrous numbers, but there was a point where they tell you a ludicrous number and I'd say, sure, no problem. Let me in the house. Let me see the house. And they
Yeah.
think I'm making this up and that I don't actually have anyone, but I've had at least 4 success stories that I can think of where they said to me, okay, I need X net in my pocket and you can sell the house. I said, tell me the first time I can show it, and I've showed it, and I brought them an offer the next day or whatever it was.
Wow, that's so interesting. So you do find success in those areas. It's just more challenging.
Yes, and today it's challenging given the market, given the
Mhm.
ever-changing interest rates, but it's you just got to keep at it and keep trying and keep hustling, and that's how you make money and you get success.
Do you feel that young families, like people in their late 20s, early 30s, who are newlyweds, people who are newly having children, are they having major difficulties finding their first home?
I think as long as they're realistic, they can find their first home. I mean, they're not going to get all the things on their wish list, but I think if they're realistic and they have good jobs, they can get decent houses.
Would you
I
say that
mean,
being realistic, that determining things that are impossible to find, that is something that can be a major challenge and will impede their ability to get a good home?
um, no, I think first time buyers and young people, if they save up appropriately, especially now, there are opportunities out there. And like, yes, you need to make and save a lot of money, but if you can do it, I mean, I did it. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Okay. So now just to move forward a little bit, specifically, I think we've talked about it a little, but do you feel like you personally, as an agent, are experiencing challenges moving forward in the industry, gaining new clients, particularly within the market, but also just in general? Like, what are some challenges you have faced, and perhaps tell us how you.
So yeah, so like right now, I find it a bit challenging. The market's actually very weird, is what I like to say right now. I have tons of buyer clients, but I find there's no good product to show them. So I'm actually very bored the last few weeks. It's a very cyclical business. So sometimes, it is getting close to the end of the year. It's the beginning of November, and things do wind down by, December, early December. So it's kind of the final stretch, and I'm finding it challenging because um, there isn't good inventory to show my clients, and buyers aren't necessarily as motivated. There has been rate decreases, which has helped get some buyers off the sidelines, but the challenge is that there really isn't much that I'm able to transact right now. So I'm just, keeping at it, doing all the things I can do to stay busy and to be creative, but it is challenging, and that's the nature of the business. Sometimes, I'm really busy and I have a second to eat in a day, and sometimes I'm bored and go to the gym in the morning, have nothing all day. So it's just you have to just be prepared for those changing times and figure out ways to stay busy and to stay sane and motivated.
For sure. And I know we didn't speak about this question in general, so you don't have to answer if you don't feel comfortable. But would you recommend real estate as an industry for any young people who maybe have a background in business but aren't sure what they want to do? At this moment, would you recommend that people join the real
Yeah.
estate? You
Yeah,
would.
so I would definitely recommend it if you have to have very thick skin to be in the business, and you have to really have the self-motivation and the drive to be successful in the business. If you're not someone that can get yourself out of bed in the morning and pound the pavement, it's not for you. I mean, I have a friend who got her license at the same time as me, and we're just very different personalities. And all the things I said about learning areas, educating yourselves, learning things so that when someone picks up the phone and says to you, "Oh, how much do you think this is worth?" You should know those answers off the top of your head. She never did that when she got in, and she hasn't found her niche and her path and her comfort in the industry. And I think it's a very personality specific industry. I mean, obviously there's different personalities that can be successful, but you really have to have um, a certain personality and drive to be successful, in my opinion.
But it is possible.
It's definitely possible.
Okay. That's really interesting. I think a lot of people will be excited and interested to hear answers. Obviously, this industry is very attractive to a lot of young people. That's why I wanted to speak to you in the first place. And I think people need advice from somebody who is going through the challenges, but is still finding success because there's a lot of horror stories out there for sure.
Yes, look, they say, I think the top, I don't know, less than 10% of the top agents are the ones that make all the money. There's many agents who do one or two deals a year and don't even make, a normal income. And then there's some people that do that every week and make what people make in a year in a week.
Right.
So it's a very uh, exciting and, varied industry.
Right. That sounds interesting. And I wish all the young professionals who enter the industry so much luck. And it's great that there are people like you who are willing to talk about their experiences and willing to give actual advice because I think that that's super necessary, especially in particularly social and connection-based industries.
Yes,
Okay. Thank you so much for speaking with me. This was a wonderful conversation.
you're very welcome. If you have anything else, just let me know.
Absolutely will.